We seem to have everything, and we are very busy, and we do not have time for something which is abstract.
Is it easier for a rich person to say this because he is probably achieved all of his goals and everything, or should this is this void being felt by everyone across the board, or what is this like?
So, the way we use the word science is all about physics, biology, and chemistry. That is our understanding of science. Whereas the Shastras use a word which appears to be the synonym, which is Vijnana.
So many religions in the world. Am I allowed to choose a certain philosophy?
The ceiling fan that was there onto the deity. He says, no, no, God, how can he take the heat? Right? That I think that comes because of our love.
Welcome to the Ataha Madhvacharya for Youth Podcast Series. Over the last several years of my life, I've had a lot of questions plague me regarding religion, spirituality, and somewhere science as well. Today, I have the opportunity to sit with Sunder Madaakshira, who is the CMO of a major IT company, as well as part of the Prime Minister's National Digital Innovation Council, and also the founder of Ataha Madhvacharya for Youth Foundation. Welcome to this podcast where we explore ancient Hindu teachings. We aim to show how these timeless ideas can be integrated into our daily lives, highlighting their relevance for today's day and age. We would love for you to share your thoughts, your ideas, and your counter questions so that we can deepen our understanding and have more insights. We would love for you to ask us questions, counter questions, or even drop your comments on your favorite topics of interest so that we can work together to deepen our understanding and thereby guide us towards a brighter future. I'm the co founder of a company called Talking Ads. We are a full stack video production company specializing in something called as founder documentaries, where we tell zero to hero stories on big founders. We also specialize in cinematic quality corporate videos, brand videos, and social media reels. In today's day and age, with science being so forward, and people being busy with their own lives, working and going about their days, why should I bother about Vedanta or spirituality to begin with? I'm happy, eating my food, making merry, and living my own sweet life. Why bother about any of these things?
Acharya Pavanosmakam, Acharyani cha Bharati, Devo Narayana Shishaha, Devi Mangala Devata. I think, Vyas, you have put a very pertinent and very important question to start with. When we say that, in our daily lives, we seem to have everything, and we are very busy, and we do not have time for something which is abstract and which we are not sure will yield to anything at all, because nothing is very clear. We are not able to experience it all the time, and we should just be doing our worldly chores and jobs and get along with life. So where is the time, or where is the
Necessity.
where is the necessity, if I may say, to have anything on Vedanta or spirituality? See, if you look at it, our senses, right, are always geared up to perceive what is around us. Our senses are not perceiving things which are beyond our senses by definition. Right?
Correct.
So when we do this, whenever we do anything, the motivation for any action for us is what? Is to get happiness. We believe that if somebody goes to a college to study, he's going to be happy because he gets a knowledge, probably he gets a degree, and then he gets a job. So ultimate, and then when you say what do you get after that, finally it all culminates with people saying that I want to be happy. That's a very strong motivator for everybody, ultimately. Now, whenever we are in our daily work, we all experience happiness to a certain extent. There's no doubt. When we do the work of our choice, when we achieve something there, right? And when we say earn money or get a promotion and so on, it gives us happiness. But it is also our experience that that happiness that we get has got a very limited quality. Immediately following that moment of happiness is a sense of despondency that you see very commonly today. People who have achieved the highest thing in their lives still have a feeling that there is a void in their lives. There is something that is not right. Why does this happen? Because our body, our senses are engaging with the world, and the world gives us certain happiness and it gives us certain sorrow. Now that immediately has a connection with our body and its senses only. Now there is a soul within us which we are not feeding. We are feeding the body, but we are not feeding the senses. We are not feeding the soul which is there inside the body. So as a consequence, within us, there are two people now. One is the soul and the body. So the body is happy, probably to some extent, but the soul is craving for something. Just like food is important for the body, the soul needs a nourishment of a different order, which is what we call as gnana or the spiritual knowledge. So anytime you indulge in any spiritual activity, it could be a meditation even for 5 minutes. Why does it give us more happiness than probably many other things around us are? So I was recently at a seminar, and the person who started the seminar, it was on AI. He just said that before we start, we should probably meditate for about 5 minutes. And he got the hall to quieten for 5 minutes, and then he started. People said, "Can we do it for 5 more minutes?" So, if when there was such a interesting topic that was to be discussed, it was a very tight agenda. People still wanted something else. So, after 10 minutes, I think they were better tuned to listen to what the speaker also had to say. But when you look at our lives, the principal question that we have to answer to ourselves is, are we happy with whatever we have achieved, and are we truly happy? We have to be very honest to ourselves, and if there is a void, that is what spirituality will fill.
How do you, so for example, let's say I have this void, and people would want to fill this void with something. The answer may not be necessarily Vedanta or spirituality to begin with. They may probably go to nature and sit in nature or experience nature or be one with nature for a few hours. Do you think that is the same thing or the same, gap filling that spirituality does, or is it different?
It is very different. So, let us say somebody wants to be in nature. He is still speaking at the experiential level.
The bodily level.
It's at a bodily level. Maybe you get more oxygen. Let's say you go into a forest resort. You will get more oxygen. That oxygen is still feeding your
brain.
It is feeding your body. You're getting fresh air. You'll feel good because we live in very polluted atmosphere. We may go there. Similarly, when we go and sit next to a river, the movement of the water, the sound it makes calms us down. But it's still because you are hearing something that that engages you. It is better than something which is purely worldly, but it still lacks the depth because it's still not talking to your soul. That's why we say that when somebody sings very well, we don't say it's melodious music, we say it's soulful music. So whenever you go to a pilgrimage, like I don't think all of us would have had the experience of visiting Tirupati, for example. It's a very warm place most of the time, and there is such a lot of crowd and so much of noise, and we wait for hours together to see the God. But after that is done, even a moment of looking at the God and having the darshan, in an instant, all the pressures, all the strain that we have undertaken just disappears. Why does this happen? Because all the strain was only bodily felt, but the soul has now got satisfied.
How do you define soul? Can you briefly explain without getting into the nitty-gritties of the Shastric idea of what an Atma is or a soul is? What is this soul you're talking about?
Yes, so our, as I said, the entity that we call us or me has got two parts to it. One is the body, which we are seeing, which after a certain period of time, it has its growth and it has got its decline, ultimately leading to death. It is the body is extremely temporary in that sense. We are just a spark in the
Right.
overall span of time. But the soul is an entity which is within us.
Is it the mind?
It is not the mind. It is more fundamental to the mind. It is extremely sukshma, as they call it in the Shastric language. It is very, very small. It is the one which moves from one body to the other. And that is the entity called soul. The soul is the one which captures all the knowledge that we get. So when we say that somebody remembered whatever happened in the previous birth, it is all encapsulated in that soul.
It is not the mind.
It is not the mind. The mind has gone with that body. But this soul is intact. It's keeping all the knowledge, all the memory to itself. We don't have to go very far. We see prodigies who are born. How did they have the knowledge? There is no hope in hell that they could have learned that knowledge by practice. When we see, a 6-year-old child, playing the
Prodigy.
mandolin, with that speed, it is impossible. Even assuming that he started playing at the age of 2, which itself is ridiculously low, you know that knowledge extends in it. Every child which is born, it's born with an instinct. How did that instinct come? In that hardware, there has to be a software which is running it. And that software is nothing but the soul. That's a kind of analogy that I can get.
Got it. So that what you're saying is essentially the soul is what we have to nurture to fill that void that you were talking about to begin with.
Yes. So we have to prioritize that also, yes. Because I think we are trying to fill our void with many other things. So I was very curious when I look at, so I teach at the IIMs and I happen to go and visit many campuses throughout the year. And that behavior, of course, is everywhere, but it is more accentuated in a college campus. Why are people wanting to take pictures of what they eat for breakfast, what they eat for lunch, what they eat for? So I was just trying to understand, because I believe people are essentially rational. Human mind is a very rational mind. We may not agree on somebody else's rationale, but we are all rational. That's for sure. So when they do it, it is precisely trying to fill these voids, saying in the next 30 seconds, I really don't know what to do. So what do I have to do? My life is empty. I have to keep filling it up with these things. So I make my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner, going out and attending a class or anything for that matter, everything becomes an event and a milestone that I've reached.
So, but then is it easier? Let's just sort of probe further into this. Is it easier for, say, someone who is rich to say, no, you are seeking happiness in the wrong areas. This is where you need to seek happiness. Is it easier for a rich person to say this because he is probably achieved all of his goals and everything, or is this void being felt by everyone across the board, or what is this like?
See, as we have seen, the people, we read stories about people who are great actors, people who are great world leaders, people who have been extremely successful in their lives. Money is one of the measurements that we might use, but there are other forms of success that they have seen. When people, for example, who have got admissions into the best institutes in the world, they are committing suicide today, right? And the biggest challenge that people who are really rich in that sense are facing today is mental health. They are in fact actively promoting how mental health can be overcome, right? But at the same time, we see people who have virtually no worldly wealth, but who are on their own spiritual journey, who have stories that they can share, which is absolutely stunning. I met a person in Haridwar the last time I was there, and he was a yogi sitting next to the river. He's an orphan. He does not know who his parents were. All he has is two sets of clothes, one copy of the Bhagavata and one copy of Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana. This is his net assets that he has. Somebody there has been feeding him for many years, so he goes there for lunch and dinner. He eats only twice a day. And he says, "This is my life." No, he does not have an insurance. So every time he has to leave his books, he just leaves it on the banks of the river. And he says, "Nobody will take it." I said, "What will happen if somebody takes it?" He's not worried. He says, "No, Goddess Ganga will protect me." And I asked him, do you go to different temples? He said, "I don't have to go to any temple. This is Goddess Ganga. She has come from the feet of Lord Vishnu. Brahmaji has captured her, her in that Kamandalu, and Lord Shiva has taken it on his head. So all the three great gods are within this Ganga itself." So for him, that whole world is that river. And that studies of those texts that he does, he has done it over and over again. So I think somewhere there was a big lesson for me, and my family was also traveling, and we have thought about this incident for so many years now. So I think, coming back to your question, whatever we think, is we say that, look, let me earn a little more money, then I will turn spiritual. Right?
Because spirituality is for retirement,
post-retirement. So it's almost like a retirement plan. So that is not right. Second thing, we also have to understand, spirituality never prohibits us from earning. Ambition is fine. Avarice is wrong. Desire, greed, having a want and satisfying is fine. But being greedy is wrong. So there are these lines that we'll have to draw for ourselves. Nowhere is it said that if you're pursuing spirituality, you cannot pursue other things. Srimad Madhvacharya says it beautiful, in a wonderful way. He says, "Tadalam bahuloka vichintanaya paravanam kuru manasa mishamade." These sorrows, joys will keep coming to us as waves of the ocean. We have to learn how to be accepting them. We don't get excited when a wave comes. We don't get excited when a wave goes. Maybe it does for a few moments. If you're visiting a beach for the first time, that is why you may feel that, or a young child may feel it for a little longer. But what's the difference between somebody who stays by the ocean and somebody who is watching it for the first time? Is that he knows that this wave is coming, will also go back. So you can compare a philosophically trained mind to be someone who is staying next to the ocean. He knows the wave is coming, but he also knows the wave is going. He gets indifferent to it. So like that, if we are able to slowly get to that state of equanimity, that will be great.
I probably can find two reasons right now. Reason number one, like you said, is to fill that void, or to become more happier in my life. And what I have read somewhere is it's the pursuit of truth. I want to know who I am. I want to know the nature of the world. I want to know the nature of who this God that we're talking about is. So is that the only reason why I have to? Is that the real spiritual path? Or even if I pursue it for happiness, is it still spiritual? Or is it still spirituality?
See, if you see, the ultimate goal of spirituality is still to be happy. And the way to do that, the mechanics of that, is to understand who you are, what is the world around you, and is there an entity called God.
So what you're saying is, even that pursuit of truth is ultimately to become happier.
Yes, because once you understand what is happening around you, you will be able to, we say, "Oh, I have figured out that place." Right? When you, let us say, you've taken up a new job. Initially, everything looks like everybody is very in a dilemma, because you don't know the people. You don't know who is the person who's running the organization. You don't know the nature of the culture that is there. And you don't know what is your role in that organization. You're still trying to find out. Somebody has given you a job description. It's great. But then what is my role is never clear. So that is something that you figure it out over a period of time. But once you've done that, once you put that struggle in, you feel better. So imagine this amount of effort is needed only for in that limited sense of that job. But today we are talking about our lives. So in that, understanding that, understanding with the pursuit of the truth, that okay, there is a Brahman is, and what is his nature, and also fact that maybe there is no Brahman. That is also your pursuit of truth. One of that will get established.
Correct.
Again, the nature of the world around it. What is the nature? It is again understanding that it is temporary. It has got the mix of sorrows and joys. And then who are you? You are a jivi. That means you are a soul. And it's not just body. Then you will understand why we have these dilemmas in our mind all the time.
Got it. So let's say I want to pursue this path of spirituality, but I have quote unquote, lived a not so spiritual life. Maybe I have done some errors in my past, or maybe to use a little more stronger word, maybe I've lived a sinful life. Am I still eligible to pursue this path, or am I being hypocritical by having lived a different life before and trying to live a different life now?
Not at all. I think every person who is interested in that world of spirituality is completely eligible to start on this. And why is this? Because our soul by nature is Anandamaya. It is seeking this Ananda. So, in fact, people who have committed these sins must have tried other ways of trying to be happy. And they come in after learning that no, there is something wrong in it. If that was the case, or he did not believe in this, he wouldn't have come into this world at all. You look at the history of some of the greatest scientists we have seen. Albert Einstein, for example, he went on that search of truth and he came up with many theories. But one thing that he was absolutely sure is that there is a power, there is a source of energy which is much, much higher than what we all know. And that is the source of all the energy that we see around us. So, what did his pursuit of truth take him? He might have lived a very different world, but he also came to that conclusion. So, if somebody has taken a path which is very different from that, our Puranas themselves give so many stories. Why do they have to recite so many stories of people who took a path correction and then they have started emerging as people who are role models for others?
Saintly. Very recently, for example, the story of Purandaradasa is also very similar.
Yes. So if somebody was not eligible, everybody who has got an open mind is eligible to be on the world of spirituality. I think the only people who are not eligible for spirituality, if I may say, are people who are opinionated and are not willing to give up their opinions. If people come and say, look, I have kept an open mind, I had certain hypotheses, I will put those hypotheses to test. I'm not giving up any of my questions. And come with that attitude, then I'm willing to listen and I will counter, I will debate. All the Shastric Granthas, any Grantha you may take, whether it is a Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, of course the Vada Granthas, we don't have to talk about it, Upanishads, they're all parts of somebody asking somebody a question and somebody gives an answer. To that there is a counter question and there is an answer. It's a discussion. It is not not a monologue. Our Shastras itself lends to any and every question. I think the Bhagavad Gita is a very popularly known format. But the whole of Mahabharata is a discussion between Narada and Yudhishthira. So they have the discussion and then, that's how it sort of percolates now.
If I'm not wrong, there is an Upanishad also which is in the question and answer format.
Yes, all the Upanishads are like that. It is called Shat Prashna Upanishad.
Right.
That has got 6 questions. Those 6 questions are the pivotal foundational pieces of the whole spiritual world. So there are 6 people, all of who are extremely eligible and who are indoctrinated, yet ask such basic questions about the nature of God, about the nature of world. So question and answer is an integral part of our scriptures. That's a very important thing for us to know. Anybody who is willing to do that, I think is most welcome into the spiritual world.
So if I delve a little more deeper into this subject, right? Let's say, like you said, I take a scientific approach. I understand that today I am not in control of my body. For example, my blood is flowing irrespective of whether I think about it or not. Heart is pumping. At a more molecular level, atomic level, if I think about it, things are happening across the world by itself. I am not in control of most of the things. I understand that. But why does it mean that I have to believe in a higher entity? Maybe it's just nature. Maybe it's, this I-ness has probably come because of some evolutionary factor to survival factor, let us say. Why should I believe in a higher entity? Maybe it's just nature and, the way things are working.
Yeah.
Today, I feel most people are thinking this way because if I go at a molecular and atomic and even a quantum level, things are happening by themselves. Why should I believe in a higher entity?
So the way we use the word science is all about physics, biology, and chemistry. That is our understanding of science. Whereas the Shastras use a word which appears to be the synonym, which is Vijnana. And that is not limited to
Evidence-based.
evidence-based. So there is, so even within evidence, I have not seen anybody go to the moon. So therefore, I will not believe that somebody went to the moon is an argument, and say that till I see somebody going there, you've got to show me evidence. So there are a lot of things that our senses cannot perceive. It is accepted, but we prove it by what is called anumana, which is by
Inference.
finding an inference, right? So there are three different ways in which something can be accepted as proof. So when you look at science, whatever we call as science, coming to the second part of your question, which is that, why don't we believe that the world is happening all by itself? Now, this is a topic which has been debated in all the Vedantic texts. And the conclusion is, we are living in a world which is highly structured. It is in a world which is moving as per a very, very set routine. To think that every single molecule in this world is is moving as per a certain law. We say there's Charles' law, there's Boyle's law. There are so many other laws. Those laws were not some Charles did not write this, and then all the molecules did not follow
Agreed.
that. It is that he saw that pattern, and that's why we call it Charles' law, right? Now, whenever you're looking at something like this, that means the world is governed by laws. It is governed by certain rules. Who set those rules? The moment you talk about a hardware, what do you say? Where is the software? There's some water, which is one drop of water falls on you. Who threw it on me? To think that this nature, of which by the way we know nothing yet, is running all by itself with its own energy, with its own thinking and its own predictability, is ridiculous to think the least. So there must be something which is making this extremely repetitive in terms of the way it is progressing, the way it is being understood, and the way it is repeating, and it's got that predictability. When we say science, science has its own limitations, and every scientist who's true to his heart will admit that whatever he is trying to do today has got its own limitations. A doctor will always come and tell you that he's done his best. Rest is destiny. Whatever he may use, we all know that life is not under our control. It is happening as per a certain rhythm, which again has to be under the control of somebody or something which is Chaitanya. It can't be a non-living entity which is controlling this world, because there are living entities here. So how do we explain this whole world and the flow of time if we do not accept that there is somebody controlling it? You take anything, you take any law of physics, it says that ultimately it is coming, any energy that we are talking about comes from a source of energy. Any sound that we are talking about, there is an infinite sound which is there.
So is that somebody you're talking about, a person sitting in the sky as we see in the movies? What is this? Is that intelligence called as God? Are we personifying him based on Because I'm a human, I'm personifying him as a human or her as a human. Or what is this? I understand that for an atom to move or the electrons to move around the atom for whatever 2 million years and then decay, it needs a certain intelligence to do that. Is this intelligence what you're calling as God? Or are we crudely personifying that intelligence as in a human form? Why can't it be in some other form?
God can be in any form, right? But the Shastras, for our understanding, have sort of described that form on which we can also understand and we can meditate. That is, it is bringing it to a manageable form as far as our understanding is concerned.
Because we have limitations on what we can imagine.
Yes. So if then people say, okay, yes, I have understood God, but now I want to know Him. I want to meditate on Him. And if if I've done enough sadhana, maybe have the sakshatkara or the glimpse of the God Himself. If that is the case, then we have to meditate. We have to think about a certain form. It is for our purpose that the Shastras have explained what it is. What is that's what is called pratika. So pratikalampana is that form. Whereas when you look at the higher,
Pratika is symbol, right?
pratika is symbol. So it can be in the form of an idol, it could be in the form of a photograph, it could also be something which is there in your mind. Even that is still called a pratika because you're still defining a form. That is because of our limited spiritual capabilities. Right? Now, as the level of spirituality or the sadhana goes up in a human being, he is able to think about God even without that form. Even without that form, he has a certain they have understanding of who the of God is, what his form is, and they are able to see God everywhere. Now that is a very, very big spiritual leap to be taken. But for our working level, whatever is the energy that is there that we see in any form, it is all because of one source of that energy, and that is what we call as God.
Got
So
it.
if you look at it, the Vamana Purana actually describes this beautifully. It says, Ekameva Mahashakti Kuruste Sarva Manjasa. There you can see different forms of energy, different places, and every and any energy form. Finally, it comes from one single source. It is like we've got so many electronic gadgets around us. All of them run on electricity. But there's one main wire which comes in and which energizes all of that to do different things. Something will heat water, something will cool water, something will drag the water from the borewell, the other will pull the water from the tank downwards. So it is being put sometimes to purposes which are opposite in nature, but they all are getting activated from one energy. The belief that there is one higher source, you can see it in every field. I think anybody who has experienced this at a deeper level, it could even be a sportsman. We have seen so many sports people, the moment they win a game, I've observed that they always look up, because somewhere there they believe that for that moment when they won the match, they were playing at a level which is beyond their capability. There's some other force in that nature. Now, they may not, some of them have articulated it, some people may not be able to articulate it. So, this acknowledgement that there is a force which is higher than us is uniform, and it is also something which anybody who is looking at it from a very objective manner will find. Now there may be some people who will not, because they want their opinion with which they wanted to start is to prove that God does not exist. So they have a lot more questions to answer. It's very easy to believe the existence of God because it's our experience.
Right. And objectively, because you spoke of objectivity, there are so many philosophies, so many religions in the world. Am I allowed to choose a certain philosophy, or am I limited to where I have come from? For example, let's say I'm born in a certain kind of a family. Am I supposed to follow only that path, or am I allowed to choose? What is your opinion on this?
I think everybody is allowed to choose. Our Shastras never say that you should not explore. In fact, Many of these questions or many of these dilemmas people have is because they have not studied the scriptures, right? If they open up and see what is written and the structure with which it is written, it is very different. What it is telling you is you have to ask questions. Do not accept anything which is blind. The hypothesis zero, then nothing. You can start from zero and keep on building your own understanding. Now, this is one. The second thing we ask, the way I look at it is, many people may read the same book, the same granthas, but they can end up in very different places at the end of it, based on their own understanding. Ultimately, what helps you? If a student, there are 100 students in a class, the school is the same, they all come from similar backgrounds, the teacher taught everything similarly to everybody, the textbooks are the same, everybody got the same pedagogy. Why is it that their responses to questions are so different? That is because of their nature, of their own ability to absorb things.
Grasp that.
There may be a Bhagavata, there may be a Brahma Sutra Bhashya which is there, but finally what you perceive and what you are able to internalize is what it is. So my encouragement to everybody is read the Shastras. Don't go by what anybody else is saying.
So I can explore any Shastra
And every Shastra does it. If you look at any of the Vada Granthas, as we say, which is about debate. Vada is not an argument. Vada is debate. So when you're having this debate, all forms of, all schools of philosophy are taken up for discussion. This is a common text structure in any Shastra Granthas. And you start with a hypothesis, which is called Purva Paksha, and then you've got the final conclusion, which becomes the Siddhanta. So one should definitely explore, and this exploratory world itself is being dealt with so much of what shall I say, equanimity there. Sri Vadaraja Tirtha says this. He says, "Na snehanam na cha visnehanam yavan madhvamatodayaha." He says, I am not condemning some Shastra. First of all, he never condemns it. He just says that is wrong because I do not like something. I also have not accepted this Shastra because I like it. It is going and talking to whatever you are saying in terms of I'm born in a certain family. I'm born in a certain community.
So that bias should not be.
Bias, it's difficult to overcome that bias. But once you start reading the Shastra Granthas, you will see how much of effort has been made by the Granthakaras to present the alternate philosophy also equally powerfully. That's the catch. Because if you do not believe, for example, that somebody's philosophy is junk, why are you sitting and spending all your life trying to counter it? You're trying to counter it only because you believe that there is merit in countering it.
Correct.
So instead of looking at all these as different forms of philosophy, the way I would advise everybody to look at it is, as far as I am concerned, is my understanding of God improving? Am I better off now than what I was 1 month back? Or I have the same set of questions, probably more questions, or I am confused, or I am unhappy. If I am not moving on that path and I'm not happier today than what I was yesterday, I think I should stop this study of philosophy.
I think
because
that was
it is not
put.
Meant to be that at all.
Yeah. So to pursue this path now, do I need to have faith in God to begin with, or Shraddha in the path to begin with? Or can I explore this purely as an exploratory path where I say, okay, at the end I will find out whether is there a God or not? Does the scriptures allow such a thing? Or should I, do all the rituals, do everything, and then only I can do this? Is it like that? What is the methodology like?
Right. So let us sort of break it into two parts. First one, do you have to have faith in something and then pursue, is not right. Because you are already telling that person that, somehow you be prepared for a brainwash. Because already you have to have that mindset. You have to have Shraddha, however, to the fact that you will be honest in your assessment. That means you had a hypothesis, it was proven wrong, you are still willing to accept it and say, move it in another order. I heard this in a very different context. We talk about intelligence, right? One of the aspects of an intelligent person, and this has been proven by history and a lot of neurosciences, is he believes that whatever he has led as a way of life, there is another way of doing it as well. He's very open to that. He's, of course, he loves the way he has been thinking. He has his own hypothesis. He has got his own thinking thought process. He's got his own way of evaluating things. But when a new thing emerges, he should be open to that as well. That is called intelligence, right? Now, if you have that and you stick to that, saying that okay, if I'm wrong, I'm prepared to be corrected. That is all the faith that you need. That if you're getting convinced, you should acknowledge it and change course in the way you are looking at things. It should lead to a change in the way you're thinking, to the way you have started behaving. Now, why am I saying this? Because something you may have understood at an intellectual level, but it doesn't go into your action.
It is not seeped in.
It is not seeped in. So there was a person who went into a village which was facing a lot of drought. And he said, look, we'll do this prayer tomorrow morning and instantly it is going to rain. But this will only work only if you have all the faith. If you don't have faith, then it won't rain. So next day morning, he said, everybody assembled. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning. He said, are you all prepared for this prayer? They all said yes. He asked them, do you all have faith that it's going to rain after this? They all say, yes, of course. That is why we have come here. He says, how come you never got the umbrellas? Because if they had the faith that it is going to rain, they have, they will get they will have got their umbrellas. So I think this is what it is. It has to impact the way you think. Should I do this? Is it right or wrong? Becomes very clear. There is somebody who's looking at me from the top and he has told me what is dharma and adharma. I will follow that and I will not overrule at any cost because I'm seeing him. He's seeing me. I don't want to disappoint him, right? We all do that. Sometimes we may be prepared to take that on our chin, but we say, I don't want to disappoint people who have faith in me. So like this, I think one should start with an open mind, start going on that path and seeing whether he is moving in that direction or not. From my own journey, Vyas, I can tell you that I started with a zero, slate, I can say. My father was in the Indian Air Force, so I was very away from the spiritual world till I was almost 16 or 17 years old. Of course, I was born in a family which was very religious, but again, my parents, we had to move to other places where a formal, structured approach was not far from possible. But when I started, listening to, these lectures by great people, including our guru, Sri Prapanjanacharya, that gave me a different perspective about how I should be looking at it. And slowly, these are things which have come to me and my understanding only over the years. And thanks to my studies that I'm doing of the Sarvamola Granthas under Dr. Shrikantacharya Bayari and Dr. Srinidhi Pyati, that I am able to understand this even better. Each text that we starts with a zero base. Just because you have studied something doesn't mean that the next text is going to, again move and expect you to remember and again it starts with the same hypothesis. And then the debate goes on. So with each advancement of a text, I always look at it like this. There is a stone. It has to be made into a sculpture. The person who is the sculptor, he starts chipping away those parts which are not needed. Effectively, that's what he's doing. And what remains is the deity or the idol. So for us to get an understanding of God, we have to chip away at all those things which are not true. And if you do that over a period of time, definitely you will get the answers that you want.
Very beautifully put. I think also just intellectual understanding is not enough. It has to seep into your behavior as well.
It will. Again, I am also not in favor of anything getting force
Forcefully
fitted.
done.
So, oh my God, I have, studied the scriptures for 1 year, yet I am not getting that God, that feeling that God is there. I think one should not jump into it. Because once it becomes natural, it becomes permanent. It becomes a nature of God. I was telling you about that incident in Haridwar. Similarly, something happened with Rishikesh. It was very warm. It was peak summer. We went to a Krishna temple, and in the afternoon, they shut down the temple for about 3-4 hours. The person who was doing the puja, he did all the puja, and he took out all the flowers and etc., everything that was in God and Goddess Lakshmi's, the deity. He took away all of that. Then he even removed the clothes, and then he put a very thin cloth because it was really warm. And the best part to me about that fact that he believes there's God, is that he turned the fan, the ceiling fan that was there, onto the deity. He says, no, God, how can he take the heat? Right? That, I think, that comes because of a love. The love that a mother has for the child. This is something that comes out of a genuine love for Lord Krishna. The pujari, of course, knows the power of God, but he has that, commitment and that love, because of which he's looking at God like that.
Apart from that ultimate behavior you're talking about, what about the behaviors which plague us as regular humans? Right? We have anger, we have lust, we have so many other things which we know is not good for us, yet we succumb to it so many times. Do you think studying this, intellectually knowing this, will also help with that, or do we have to work on this every day to as a discipline to sort of seep it, that intellectual thing to seep into our daily lives?
See, if you look at the Shastras, they are into two, broadly the messages that they get can be divided into two parts. One is what should you do and what should you not do. Now, these are very critical. So both the sides are explained over and over and over and over again. Why do we do it? Because the natural tendency for each one of us is to go towards the negative things.
What we
That's
should not do.
unfortunately our. Now, I can't say that about everybody. There are people who are perennially positive, and they are blessed. For them, be trying to overcome some negativity, they don't even have. They don't have that ability to, get angry. They're very calm. They're very happy. They pass on that happiness to others. They're, away from jealousy. Very difficult to get them jealous. We have seen such people, and we have also seen the other extreme of people who, for everything, it's a competitive activity, and they have to put down 10 people before they feel good and are able to have a good meal. So why do our Shastras say this? Is because they want to cut that natural tendency to move towards negativity and move away from positivity. That is why it is mentioned. So you are going on a straight road. It's a highway, it's a beautiful day. You've got a good car, you can probably drive at 100 kilometers, no problem. But you enter a hilly terrain. How many places will you see accident zone? They will put it 20 times. They'll say there's a hairpin, no overtaking. This is an accident zone, right? And it is kept at a frequency which is very high. Why do they do that? Because they know that is a place where people will falter, right? So they have put those warnings like that. Similarly here, in the Shastras, this appears again and again and again. Again, through direct messages, through people. You look at the Asuras, what have they done? And look at the gods and the bhaktas and what they have done. So what happens, and this is my own experience. Once I had the opportunity to be in Udupi and deliver the Bhagavata lecture for 7 long days. There is a saying, the beautiful Devarnama, which says, "Elu dinava katheyannu keli, eliro Vaikuntake." It says, listen to this for 7 days and you will reach the Vaikuntha. Of course, I am not a student at that level to be able to do that, but I can say that almost the full day that I was awake, I was reading the Bhagavata so that I can present it in a lecture. And I could see that there was a change in my basic behavior. So I think when you're starting to grasp it, don't force yourself. Oh, am I moving? Now I'm in the first gear, which is intellectual. Now I have to change to second gear because time has passed. There is no. This is these lessons can go on for several births for us. That is why we call it Janmantara Vidya. It is not going to happen today. If God wants, it can happen in an instant. And we have seen enough
Right.
stories of many great people who have attained that in an instant. So don't be in a hurry. It is a natural process. Like they do this in Kerala. I don't know whether you are aware. These raw, bananas, plantains. They just tie it with a cloth, a gunny bag, and they take a stick and beat it. The moment you beat it, it generates that heat and it becomes ripe. It
Right.
looks ripe. It is not ripe.
Right.
There is no shortcut to this. You have to take the path of pursuit. It will take a certain time. But what is very important here is, yes, each step that we take is an important milestone. Let us say you're driving from here to another city. Unlike a physical journey, every say 50 kilometers is a milestone. But having reached that, you really don't get anything. You still have to, you're thinking about how many more hours I have to drive. But here it's not like that. Every step that you take, prarambha matra ichhava, Vishnu karmena nishphala. You just have to decide that I want to take this path, and it will take you in its own path. And every place, every step that you take is giving you that share of that ananda. It has already started coming in. It has started yielding the results already. You don't have to go the full mile. You go the full mile, you will get the full fruits. But let us say every day it makes you calmer. Every day it makes you more energized. Every day you feel more happy. Every day the people around you are seeing changes in you. Isn't that good enough and good enough of a motivator for you to be doing it
I
better?
completely agree. I
I mean,
think
you
it
go
is.
to a gym and next day somebody comes and tells you, oh, whatever I see you've been working out for 3 months, and it shows. That is good enough for motivation. You really thank. Sometimes if a stranger comes and says even more, because it shows that it is showing now. So it will show you. It will show immediately, and it will, again, everything will not happen in a day. It's a
It
journey.
takes its own sweet time. Yeah. Sundar, you've completed your MBA. You've been CMOs of large corporations before. If I were to take this path, what is emphasized more today, or at any given point of time, is the rituals part of it. When I don't have time today to do any of these rituals, elaborate 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours rituals, am I still eligible to pursue this path? A lot of people today have this question saying, I am unable to do this, but am I still eligible to study the scriptures? Because they will have some intellectual curiosity about studying the scriptures, but I'm unable to do any of these things because I don't have the time. How does one reconcile this?
So this is like driving on a two-wheeler. It has got two wheels. There are two parts to it, which is achara and vichara, as we call it. Achara is typically the rituals that we follow, and vichara are the studies that we do to understand God. Both these are important. One cannot be given up at the altar of the other. What we do have an opportunity is to say, okay, which are those rituals that I can follow in order, irrespective of the challenges that I may have, and do it at least in a concise format. Instead of saying that, okay, if I'm doing, for example, I'm doing prayers, Devara Puja, I will do it for either 4 hours or I will not do it at all. Sandhya Vandana, yes, one can do it in about 30 to 45 minutes. One can do it for 2 hours also. So, given the situation that is there, but if you start practicing these rituals, they will actually embellish your effort. Right? Let's take the example of a cricketer. When he goes and joins a cricketing camp, at a certain level, I'm saying, what do they teach him? They teach him how to play cricket, which is batting, bowling, and fielding. they teach a lot more. They teach other sports. They teach them mental sports. They also have a diet. They also have a routine. When you look at an international cricketer, we are only looking at him with admiration. But look at how much of effort he or she has put in order to be at that level. So why do they do that? Is because when you start practicing the rituals, your ability to grasp spiritual world, spiritual knowledge improves. For example, look at food. Having sattvic food is helps you to grasp the shastras much better. Why? Because that is what is the prescribed diet for it. If you're eating things, like let us say you're eating something which is very spicy, obviously you are irritating your body with that extra load of spice that you're doing. And then what are you trying to do? Meditate. You're trying to have a strong cup of coffee, or somebody is having a beer and then trying to meditate. You're taking your mind in one direction in one pursuit, in the other one in the other pursuit. So the rituals only help us with our overall pursuits. So these have to be taken as a package. Now, what we do as a part of that is something that we can decide based on our schedule and our activities. But I will tell you my own experience. What happens is, over a period of time, the rituals you slowly start realizing are helping in your pursuit. So it is like an auto suggestion that you are giving yourself that, look, this is working for me. Our mind is very sharp. It is able to decipher what is helping and what is not helping. In this case, you know that this particular activity is definitely helping, right? If you're an experienced driver, let us say, when he's driving, he knows there is some drag. Then he realizes there's something stuck to the wheel which is causing that tire, because he is experienced. So in your pursuit, I have seen that definitely taking up practicing the rituals and on your philosophical study, and very importantly internalizing this. What happens is, I think we spend a lot of time maybe on these two things, but not spend enough time on the internalization part. That's why our shastras are clear. Shavana, Manana, Nididhyasana. All three steps have to be done. It has to percolate to you into that. We all have seen a coffee filter. It's called a percolator because it takes time. Only when it percolates, it passes through that coffee, and what comes out is a decoction.
Correct.
So I think if you just look at it, that is the way to do it. Our shastras don't say that you have to study everything. That's another thing that we have to remember. It's not that on day one, all of Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything should be studied. Even if the studies are limited, but it is something that you have internalized. It has actually done
The job.
the job. Look at Bhagavad Gita. One set of 700 shlokas. It's an encyclopedic world by itself.
So then, because my mind cannot say accept, say 700 shlokas, I go looking for, okay, what is this? Why is that? Why is this? Why is this way? So till I'm convinced, I have to keep reading multiple things. Is it that way? Or if I get convinced with one, say 10 shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, I am done. Is it that way, or what is it exactly?
See, the structure of the specific example that you have given, Bhagavad Gita is not like that. It goes from one question to the answer that goes
Correct.
to the. So one will have to read the full text to get the full purport of what it is. But again, as I said, all of us, while we might have read the 701 shlokas, we still have recollection of only certain parts of it which appeal to you. Now we may think, why is something appealing to me more? That is the void of the soul. The soul is asking for it. Like someday your body may say that, look, I'm in a mood to eat something sweet. That is your bodily desire. Like that, the soul is doing a white spacing of its own world and says, in that, I am today in the mood to accept this. I have the jignase to do that.
The curiosity.
Curiosity to inquire.
So that is why perhaps a lot of people say go towards Tarka. Some of them don't even touch Tarka. They stick with certain kind of texts. Is that why it is so?
No, so Tarka is a very important part of our studies, but it's not the ultimate proof.
Right.
It has got its own limitation. So it is to be, things have to be studied in logical, but everything is not logical. There are things which are beyond logic, which we cannot explain. The concept of Brahman using no form of philosophy will accept that Tarka is the way to explain it, because it's a topic which is beyond logic. Why God? There are so many things around us which do not appear to be logical. The lemon is this size, and the tree grows maybe 10 feet, 15 feet. But look at, so by that logic, if you are having a bigger one, it's an orange, the tree should be much bigger.
Much bigger.
And by that logic, how big should a pumpkin tree be? Pumpkin is not even a tree, it's a creeper. So there are many things which are not logical in this world, but which we see with our own eyes.
So if I were to pursue this path, I know that you are a grihastha, you have married, you have a son. How are you able to manage all of this together, number one? Number two, should I renunciate all my things to pursue this full time? Is that the only way? Because generally when you talk to regular people like me and others, they will say, sir, but I don't have, time for this. I have my worldly pursuit to be done. After retirement, like we spoke earlier, after retirement, I'll pursue this because I won't have anything else to do. Or they will say, I should become a sannyasi to pursue this path. What is the whole deal actually?
The Shastras never ask us to forsake any of our responsibilities or any of other relationships. For a grihastha, maintaining and being with his family is his niyata karma. That means it's an ordained duty.
But as a Brahmin, I'm supposed to follow this path.
Which path?
Follow the path of...
Yes. So there is a vocational part of our life. There is a spiritual part of our life. There is a personal part of our life, whatever we are referring to as family. All this is integrated on the common axis of spirituality. The problem comes when we are trying to separate out all these things. Being with our family is also a spiritual activity. We say that I'm with my family and I'm going for a trip with them. I'm enjoying something, as maybe a get together with my family. That is also a spiritual activity. It depends on how I call it as spirituality. So I think that is one philosophical way of looking at it. Breaking it down into brass tacks. Everybody should be devoting certain time which is earmarked for activities. Let us say you want to listen to a lecture. Plan for a time. Plan for a time which is convenient for everybody and also gives you enough time to do things which are away from this.
So I don't have to renunciate my...
Nowhere is it said. Sannyasa is only for certain people. Otherwise they would not have... that is a big contribution by Sri Madhvacharya. He said that it's not only the sannyasis who will get salvation. Everybody who has got jnana and the true bhakti in him is eligible for salvation. So similarly, everybody should earmark time for different pursuits. And I've also seen people who do many things, do a lot of things together successfully. People who don't do anything are not finding time for any of their activities.
Right. But how do you reconcile this with, because I've heard people say, because you've been born in this certain kind of, say, religion or a caste or whatever, this is what you're supposed to do. But today we have to live in this world, we have to earn money. So for example, being a Brahmin or being from a certain kind of tradition, I'm supposed to follow this path. But I'm also supposed to go out and work and, make money and, live life basically. What is the truth here? Do Shastras say that, no, this is your path, so you have to do this only, or what is the whole thing?
See, as I said, there is a topic, there is something called Niyata Karma. Niyata Karma has two parts to it. One is the spiritual karma, the other one is the Laukika Karma, or karma that is related to your vocation, related to your profession. Now, both become Niyata Karma and therefore are compulsory. Both are compulsory. So, if you're working at a job, doing that work with your full heart is also considered a spiritual activity. If you look at all the Devarnamas, what do they tell us? That, whatever you are doing as a part of your daily chore, make it a spiritual activity. God is willing to treat it as a spiritual activity. You're sleeping in the night, 8 hours. Before sleeping, you say, I'm doing a namaskara to God. And wake up after 8 hours and tell him that, look, for 8 hours, I have done namaskara to you. No human will accept it, but God accepts it. because you had that mindset to offer even that to the God. So there may be days when you may not be able to pursue the rituals. There's no need to be scared about it, because the relationship between us and the God is that of your closest friend. Well, how close can anyone get beyond God? If he is within your heart, in your Dharakasha, he occupies a pin-sized space, and that is where he is. And he's controlling everything that you do. And you don't even have to call out for him, because he knows what he has to come and help you. If you've got your friend who is that close to you, number one. Second, who is all powerful. We may have a lot of friends. They're all our well wishers, but they are not people who can help you in most circumstances.
Agreed.
Other than to say that they're sorry for whatever has happened. Beyond that, they may not be able to do that. But if you're living life like that, where is the question of separating? I'm philosophically against separating these things out, because that is not the way our Shastras are talking. When karmacharane was being talked about, karma, the topic of karma was being addressed in the Bhagavad Gita, whose example does Lord Krishna give? He is giving the example of Janaka. Astida Janakadayaha. He gives the example of, and who is Janaka? He's a Chakravarti, for God's sake. And it is described how great a king he was. And that does not say that he was only doing the rituals, or which are religious in nature. He was a great king, great administrator, laid down some very great policies, occupied a very significant part of the globe. You look at Ambarisha. He's a Ambarisha Chakravarti. Bali we can't take the name of Bali without adding the word Bali Chakravarti. All these people are emperors, beyond being emperors. What a life they must have had. Are we trying to compete with them in terms of being busy? Are we more busy than an emperor? I think that's a question we have to ask.
Got it. I think, thank you, Sunder. You've answered most of my questions. I think the general public should also probably put their comments and ask more questions, so that we can try answering them in the future coming episodes as well. Thank you for having me here today.
Thanks, Vyas, for having me. As I think what you said was right. We would love to hear the response, the comments, the counter questions that they have in mind. They can put it in the comment section of this YouTube channel itself, or they can also write to us on different channels that we have on email and Instagram and so forth, and we'll try and answer them to the best of the effort. But it was great having this discussion.
Great talking to you as
well. And some of our own thoughts get refined. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.